So, Mr. Nadkarni, let's start the discussion, which is going to be, I think, very, very beneficial for the entire industry who's here today. I would just like to know, from you that the crisis which we are there today, in terms of global crisis, I would call it. How are you foreseeing the crisis, in times to come, and how do you think this crisis is going to prevail uh, in times to come? Snap Karni, please. Dheeraj, please unmute him.
So Sanjay, you can
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
All right. Well, this is what one would call a black swan event. So it's very difficult to predict how and where it will end. But if you look at the past black swan events, we had terrorism attacks, early part of this century. We had the global financial crisis. Yeah, typically the recovery stage can vary anywhere between 3 to 6 months. But this is something pretty unprecedented we are facing. The last time I'd seen anything like this, but nothing on this scale, was the SARS epidemic. I happened to be living and working in Macau then in 2000, so I was pretty close to the epicenter of it all. And that region bounced back within about 4 to 5 months. Now, this is on a global scale, the scale is much larger. And of course, in 2002, during the SARS outbreak, there was no social media. So obviously, we have to factor that as well into the talk about the impact. But moving forward, irrespective of when it will end, it will surely end, and the industry is bound to bounce back. So I guess amidst all this doom and gloom, it is reasonable to start preparing for post-crisis scenarios. Because we have a lot of time on our hand now. I mean, in the sense that many of us are in work from home mode. Uh, this is a good time to reflect on the overall business processes, how the industry has been functioning at a macro level as well as at a micro level when it comes to your own line of business.
Sure, sir. So, as you well said that the prices in we earlier crises is also people have actually bounced back, but it has taken 3 months. But having said that, this particular crisis definitely has taken a toll on the entire world. So, even if it started from Wuhan, did we, all the hoteliers anticipated, the industry anticipated, and started taking measures before it actually reached their respective countries? What is your take on that, sir?
Well, typically the response has been in line with what their respective governments have kind of how they have reacted. So probably if we look at what's happening now in Europe and now in the US as well, initially the reaction was that of denial. Okay, it's not coming here. It's where it is. But eventually, as it played up in Europe, as the epicenter moved to Europe and now possibly the US, yes, the response has been more reactive than proactive. Now, global chains that operate across the world, obviously, they had to kind of respond fairly much in advance. So, let's say you have the Marriott's, the Hilton's, the Hyatt's with the large exposure to the China market. They've already had their lessons learned and now are deploying similar strategies on their own turf as the crisis comes. Right? So the reactions have been pretty varied depending on the scale of operations. But yes, as an industry, we are generally very reactive and not proactive.
Very rightly said, that we have been very reactive and not proactive. So well said. Because had we been a little proactive, we would have definitely taken some preparatory measures. The moment it hit China, so we would have actually gone back on a storyboard and I would say the boardrooms and started making some measures before it started actually hitting us on a smaller and a larger levels.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you look at the crisis response patterns, I think India has done very well compared to a lot of other countries, OECD, some of developed environments. Of course, now we are on the verge of the third stage, hopefully that will be contained with all the tough measures that we have taken. But that said, in terms of industry's preparedness, we have to also accept the fact that particularly for small businesses, small medium-scale businesses, it's going to be a tough call. Because when I look at the dashboards in terms of how industry statistics are panning out, it's looking pretty dismal at this stage, but that's to be expected. So we know that we are in a downward phase at this moment. Hopefully, the bottom will be hit very soon. And then the question is, what beyond? So how are you going to ring fence yourselves once this crisis is over?
Right, very well said, sir. Because there's a difference between a player, which is a chain of hotels, a big player, so to call, and there are small players who are just running maybe one hotel or a small setup or a small restaurant chain. So the impact is going to be definitely very, very different from the bigger ones and the smaller ones. I mean, as you rightly said, it's going to be very dismal, and it is looking very dismal on the dashboard right now. Uh, do you have any suggestions or any advice on how these both players, both category of players, can lift themselves or do something or give some period of time for their businesses before they actually take a very hard call?
Yes, in these type of situations, typically the knee-jerk reaction is to cut costs, and that is essentially by reducing the workforce. And we've seen this time and again, and obviously not only does it create all of doom and gloom, lowers the morale of the people who are still holding on to their jobs. Overall, it has a negative effect on the economy. So, before rushing into that sort of scenario, there are some best practices. There are some use cases, which I mean, put it that way, where companies have put their staff on furlough, reduced working hours, etc., to tide over. Because we're all in this together, so we all have to take the hit. They are relying on government rollouts, particularly in the context of India, where there are other pressing priorities, is not something that one should look at. Yeah. If it comes as an added bonus, there's more gravy into the drink. Okay.
Yes,
But
that's right. That's right.
I mean, there are ways around this. I mean, you can reduce inventory. Now, I don't know how much of this is actually feasible. It will depend from vary from business to business. So if you have any additional inventory, like if you have let's say 100-room property, maybe you may want to reduce it to 50, keep the other 50 locked out of the repurpose underutilized space and capacity. So this is a good time to see what part of your assets are being underutilized, and then can you repurpose them. This again, you don't have to go into capital expenses and spend a bomb at this stage, but at least you will have ideas on how to repurpose because this is a pause. You're now is a stage where you're no more running. You have a chance to pause and build or rebuild your existing line of business. The other, I mean, again, related to that is the review of your capex versus opex, particularly when it comes to digital platforms, which can further help in reducing costs, increase enhance guest engagement and happiness. This is a good time perhaps to pause and see how you can get away from the stranglehold of legacy platforms into more agile solutions, which will also kind of take away the burden from your capex. market space. So depending on demand, we turn on the tap. Yeah.
Yes,
And
very
again,
rightly said.
revisit your standard operating procedures, business processes. You've been doing it all along because that's the way it's been done. But is there anything that can be done differently? Do we have to adhere to these standard protocols followed by the big chains? I'm particularly addressing this particularly to the small and medium chains because this becomes a big issue. Normally, they tend to ape the big chains, and there's no need for that. You can. This is a time for what we would call a creative innovation. That means taking best practices from other sectors and implementing them. Overall, the disadvantages that small and medium enterprises, the clear advantage they have over their bigger counterparts is the agility. They're small, the ability to change is way more doable for smaller and smaller businesses compared to the large behemoths. Surely because of the approval processes, the bureaucracy that's involved in getting the change done. So small businesses can certainly leverage this agility, and this is again applicable to all across the board, irrespective of what's what part of the stakeholder chain you are in, focus on improving sustainability, right? Because after this
Right.
crisis, it's not going to be like money, 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 because that's been the bottom line has been the sole focus. But now, I think I mean, both the customers as well as businesses will become more conscious, and this will be a good time to start refocusing on enhancing sustainability initiatives. It could be water conservation, it could be power, electricity conservation, not only does this reduce cost, it enhances the sustainability. Not just from a CSR perspective. This is an
Right.
actual part of the business model, right?
Right.
And another important thing, we live in a data-driven world. Hotels, hospitality is data-rich and analysis poor. This is a great time to take stock of your data assets and see how you can leverage them to your advantage. Uh, we are so fortunate in terms of the volume of data we have, but also equally unfortunate in the sense that we don't monetize it. We don't do anything much of value with it because we are so busy running our operations, right? So take a step back, look at your data assets, what data you have in your possession, your own proprietary data. How can you use this data to make more informed decisions? So these would be the points I would look at in this kind of post pause phase that we have been put in.
Very rightly said. 2 points which I would like to take up is this is a time to pause and this is a time for agile solutions. And this is a time to analyze and monitor what we've been doing. Because in terms of monitoring and analyzing the reports, we've not actually taken commendable, efforts, or we haven't learned from it to make more strengthening of the systems and processes, which I think is this is a time for more creations on that and build on it. And very rightly said that whatever inventories we were working on and which were maybe not working for us in the real sense, it's time to actually consolidate them and prune them and take steps on things which we can manage. And then,
Hello.
Yeah, I think Taran has got some connection issues. So she has lost the connection. I believe. So let's get to the next point, sir. What do you think that what would be the impact for a smaller player or a big player in the industry? Do you think it would be gonna same for both kind of hotels, or will it be different for small players and will it be different for the larger player? What they should keep in mind to actually get away from it.
Well, I don't think it's possible for anyone to get away from it, but I wish there would be a mechanism for that. But in terms of mitigating impacts, obviously the larger chains have much deeper pockets. They have a greater network. They're able to lobby governments. This is something that small and micro enterprises will lack. And in our industry, if you were to take a rough back of envelope calculation, over 70%, maybe even 80% of the businesses will fall in the small to medium. So therefore, the visibility that the big chains get is disproportionately high, given their corporate branding muscle and the rest of it. But at the same time, I guess in terms of the actual impact, the economic impact, the social impact, the small and micro businesses tend to be more vulnerable, and therefore they can actually, I mean, as I mentioned in response to the previous question, how can this be? How can the smallness be put to advantage? Because what you have here is agility, which large organizations don't, and it's a good time to step back and ask ourselves, why do we have to emulate the processes, the platforms, the procedures, the standard operating procedures of large chains? Can we do things differently? Yeah. Uh, how can we look at best practices from other sectors and implement them in our industry, which are suitable, which are doable, uh, without burning a hole in the pocket? And the good thing is, because I understand you're on the tech side, so you will also appreciate this better, as probably some people in this audience. There are solutions available now which can, how would I put it, challenge the dominance of the legacy players. Yeah, and you can look at digital as an enabler for not only reducing costs but enhancing the efficiencies, also building up on guest engagement and satisfaction. In fact, here what I'm doing at the moment is working with a few startups, mentoring a few startups. We're looking at alternatives to every key hotel technology platform. We're looking at either an open source alternative or an agile cloud-based solution which will challenge the dominant players. And it's an interesting experiment. And what happens is, obviously, the large hotels will never touch these solutions, or because they will cite all sorts of excuses, data security and the rest of it does not meet corporate brand standards. But here's an opportunity for small and micro enterprises to take this initiative and jump into trying to experiment with these platforms, because who knows, this will be something that will, as I mentioned, not only save on costs but also enhance operational efficiencies.
Very well said, sir. And you're absolutely right. With
So
this,
I'm back now. Can everybody hear me?
yeah. Please carry on.
Thank you. So, very well said, about the entire scenario and how small and big players can, recoup and recreate strategies to build up their empires again. But sir, one thing, of course, you have mentioned that in the past crisis situations worldwide, things have really come back in say 3 to 4 months period. But in this situation of corona, do you think that after the primary lockdown is lifted, this crisis will prevail for the next 6 to 8 months or more? What is your opinion on that?
See, it also depends on the overall macroeconomic impact, because this sort of a shutdown has been unprecedented globally, and the long-term consequences. Because what you have to also understand, I mean, I was just having a discussion with one of my associates the other day, the impact this will have on business travel, because now we've become so accustomed to these type of meetings on Zoom, for instance, right? So will this be the new norm? Are we going to, I mean, in the post-coronavirus world, after things settle down, uh, even after travel restrictions are lifted, just the sheer convenience of being able to sit at my home and have this conversation to avoid the hassle of travel. Yeah. Of course, at the end of the day, we are in an industry which is high touch. Yeah. So, but the high tech kind of infusion into it isn't going to reduce that high touch element. Uh, So business travel, which I mean, is a typical 80-20 rule. 80% of people travel for leisure, but 20% generate 20% of the revenues, and vice versa for business. Rough back up under the destination, of course. So you can imagine what would happen if business travel is reduced as a result of this, because we reduce the carbon footprint by reducing our travel now, since we can have meetings through Zoom or other such platforms. What's going to be the impact on that? So this is something we'll have to take a serious note of. So the rebound, it's like an elastic rubber band, right? After pulling it a few times, the elasticity kind of goes sort of reduces. So obviously, it may not be back to square one as when we started when the crisis began, but there will also be opportunities in this crisis, and that's exactly what I think companies should look at leverage. Who knows? I mean, events industry may be impacted probably a bit more than others, because if people can now have these type of teleconferences, what would okay, not everyone will want. There's always this joy to meet people in person, so that will always remain. But it might still take the sheen of corporate travel or business travel for meetings. This is something that we have to take into consideration. I don't know what the other panelists feel here, the other members here, but this seems to be something that we need to factor in. Again, it looks good on sustainability initiatives, because if I travel less, my carbon footprint is less. I'm helping the environment. Yeah. So companies might also put in place these type of policies. We're already having a thought leadership session on this to see how companies can kind of switch gears into enhancing, encouraging these type of meetings. So that's on the corporate side. On the leisure side, I don't think it will have much of an impact. That said, we have to be cautious as technology moves, because um, one of the startups that I'm dealing with, not officially mentoring them. So what they've done is they've created virtual reality experiences that go beyond the audio visual. So this includes tactile, that means touch, olfactory, smell, and vestibular, as in motion. So you wear a headset with sensors attached to your brain, and your brain is actually tricked into believing that you're smelling something when there's nothing around. You're touching something when actually it's not there, and feeling motion when you're actually sitting comfortably on the chair, right? So could this be a substitute to actual travel? So let's say I want to take a trip to Antarctica, which doesn't seem feasible or feasible for all sorts of reasons. What do? I take this VR experience instead. Now, if you look at heritage assets, right? I mean, we always talk about carrying capacity at destinations, right? Do we allow too many people at the Taj Mahal, for instance, or at any of the, and does this have a negative impact on the actual monument? So carrying capacity issues. So would virtual trips be more sort of doable and encouraged? Would more people take to these virtual trips than real thing with this kind of? This is, of course, still at least 5-6 years away, but this, as an industry, we need to start preparing for these emerging challenges.
Absolutely, sir. I think it's very well, insight which you have shared today. That VRS is going to be the next thing. Augmented reality would be an additional thing. And honestly speaking, augmented reality is still at a very nascent stage right now, but it needs to build up. Whether it is hospitality, real estate, it's the way to go forward. And
at least with augmented reality, there is a physical presence on site, which is then augmented. But with these tactile, vestibular, olfactory, sensory technologies coming into the VR space, this is something to watch out for. The airline industry is particularly worried about this, because about 5 years back, I done a project for World Economic Forum in collaboration with Emirates, and they were very uncomfortable, Emirates Airlines, about this question on VR relating to all these tactile technologies, because to them they saw it as a potential loss of business. They didn't. Right. I was not aware at that stage why they were so adamant about it. Much later, about 3-4 years down the line, during an informal conversation, that's how I got to know that they look at VR as a threat. And airline industry is way ahead of hospitality in kind of perceiving these different threats.
Very true. Very rightly said. But I think we all would agree, and a lot of things which you have shared in the forum today. A lot of things, go back on the positivity in the sense, of course, Corona is not a positive thing for the worldwide slowdown and a lot of loss of economies which is happening worldwide. But at the same time, if you actually sit back, because everybody has to sit back and we are all sitting at home, we have to think from the positive sense. We have to think what best we can do in the current scenario rather than just being a victim, rather than just being, I would say all the time talking about it. It's fine. These things are natural, and nature has taken some ways to tell us and communicate a lot of things which we need to understand in our own spaces. So I think this is a beautiful time when we have to sit back, restructure ourselves, re strategize ourselves, think back on our current business, work on our processes, on our systems, consolidate it, which is very important. Work on staff which is not huge staff without any, I would say, the results which we are getting is it directly proportional to the number of staff which we are having in our respective businesses. It's time to rethink on that. It's also a time to create. I would, I think the whole team would, and the panel which we have, everybody would agree that this is a beautiful time to create, because when you have pressures, you create. And when you have pressures, it's like creativity under the gun. So there's a gun on us. We need to create new things. So I think this time we all should work more, because these whatever X number of days we have, we all should just join hands within our own systems, rediscipline ourselves, and produce more. At least on the sheets which we can create for our own selves. For the next 1 year, whatever strategies we have to develop to regain back in terms of hotel, staff, internal and external both. What are those strategies which we are working on? All those things have to be thought on. And thanks to Zoom, we can get the teams on and we can decide on things. So now I think you would agree on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, this is a great time to upskill ourselves, our colleagues, yeah, future-proof them in terms of being able to cope with the new technologies that are upending this industry. Because we've been like a hospitality as an industry is more like a frog in the well mindset. Yeah, always changes that are happening and always being reactive. So when you look at the sector-wise distribution in terms of the digital preparedness, hospitality is one of the laggards. And this would be a great time to address this issue. Uh, Not just in terms of technology skills. I don't mean that all people in the hospitality industry should learn how to code. No, that's not the thing. But there's lots of MOOCs available, massive online, open online courses, customer relations, soft skills. Yeah, this is something which I think sitting at home in a lockdown situation would be a great opportunity for HR teams to cascade to their staff so that they can upskill themselves at no cost. And when the industry is back, they will. I mean, this will benefit. I mean, it will be mutually beneficial. Now you have these MOOCs that allow you to directly export the certificate or whatever badge you earned onto your LinkedIn profile, for instance, right? So this further improves people's job prospects because okay, these are the skill sets a person is required. Because otherwise, in a normal working environment, people always have this excuse, oh, I don't have the time to upskill myself because I'm so busy with my work. Now that you're not so busy, there is no excuse for that.
Absolutely. So, sir, now we will move ahead because there are a lot of panelists, people who are participants actually. They have some queries and they want to have a discussion. Dheeraj, you can just put the first question to Mr. Vaibhav Bagla. He's written to us and he has a question for a discussion, please.
Yeah, definitely. Whosoever has any questions can
Mr. Vaibhav Bagla has a question. He's already written to me. Yeah, so if you can just start with him.
Unmute yourself and start.
Vaibhav, you can unmute yourself. Vaibhav?
So, Vaibhav, you there?
Yeah, hi, I am here.
Okay.
Thank you, Tarun, for giving me the opportunity to ask my question. I just want to know, like, as we have all seen that this virus is very contagious, and our hotel industry is preparing for any sort of sanitizing the rooms whenever it is used before giving to the next client or guest in the hotels. Like, is this possible? Like, people are thinking about all, instead of giving only a clean room to your guests, giving them a sanitized room in future.
Mr. Nadkarni, do you have any viewpoints on this? Because
I think
the
this will
industry
probably be
is
part of the standard operating procedures, another checklist, deep cleaning and sanitization. Because without that, I don't think, as a guest, I'll feel more reassured if it's explicitly mentioned that the room is not just being cleaned and turned around, but it has been sanitized with the right times. Because at least for I don't know, maybe for a few months, maybe even a few years, the impact of this coronavirus, the psyche, how it's impacted our psyche, we will expect that from a hotel. So probably be part of the standard operating procedure. Absolutely. Some jurisdictions, this will become mandatory by law.
That's right. So I think this is to be seen definitely, and I think government will take very stringent measures to incorporate it in the systems of the hotels and whatever scale it is.
Just remember, SARS in Hong Kong, the main spread was in a hotel incidentally, where one guest from mainland China who was staying in that hotel got contacted SARS. Eventually, air conditioning went and impacted. So that was the first kind of local cluster how it spread in Hong Kong. So yeah, a hotel was responsible.
Absolutely. End of the day, the hotel has to take all the good and the negatives.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was the sad part of the storyline that it all started in a hotel, not anywhere else.
Absolutely.
At least with coronavirus, it started in some wet market in Wuhan, so at least there's no hotel in Wuhan. But it's
Right. Sure. Over to you, Dheeraj. You can just take the next questions.
You can ask your question.
Yeah, so my question is somewhat related to what was asked just earlier, but just to extend few points on this. So, as a industry, as we all are associated with it, so are we coming up with any kind of standard guidelines or something where we can standardize things where there is just like a star rating, 5 star, 4 star, 3 star hotels are there. So sanitization star ratings are there or standardization is there, so that the awareness in the end user will go and they can be confident enough to travel, because this is going to impact in a very big way when people will be scared to travel, and rebounding is a challenge, and we all are interrelated. If hotels will not make money, restaurants will not make money, we will be dying around that. So
wonderful point. Wonderful point. Go ahead. Sanjay.
No, I mean, this is a great point you raised. In fact, I think all stakeholders should be pretty much engaged in this in terms of creating what could be standard operating procedures. Now, there could be some allowance depending on the scale of operations, etc. And this in tandem with the local authorities, I think this should be implemented. As you mentioned, like a star rating. There is already something for sustainability. It's called the Green Globe Initiative. There are certain benchmarks. Yeah, so a similar initiative can be taken on the sanitization, deep cleaning. There are various terms. I think there's something called Chem Lab where they do a complete chemical cleanup of the room. Obviously, how will the cost be passed on to the end users? That will have to be the case. And I think in the current scenario, at least, this impact is going to last for a while. People will be willing to pay that premium under that reassurance that the room is being, treated properly. But yeah, you have a point there. I think HHC and other such networks should kind of come together to create these type of benchmarks or standards, which then not just the hotel industry, but as you mentioned, restaurants as well, because all the stakeholders, right? Because kitchens, HACP, they already have some hygiene standards, but this goes beyond that now in terms of sanitizing the tableware, for example, right? So there can be these type of standards. Probably, I'm sure somebody else is also thinking about this, talking about this as we speak. But this will certainly, I think this will certainly happen.
Right, sir. Definitely. That's a need of the hour, and in times to come, I think this will become a very, very strong system of delivery, in terms of delivering the room and the systems around it, the processes of the hotel overall.
Karan,
Dheeraj.
you can take your question, please. Mr. Karan.
Hello, hi. This is Karan Gambhir. I present Survey Enterprises LLP. We're into the business of supplying sustainable hotel amenities, and we also help our partner hotels in managing their waste of amenities and upcycling it and giving it to the underprivileged for their hygiene sake. We repackage the waste material and then give the plastic back to the processor for recycling properly. How in and my question is in this regard, in this context only, and you spoke about that this is the time for people to really focus on what they can do towards a sustainable future, because that's what people will be now. It'll be more about conscious business. Where do you see the industry moving? Of course, there are Green Globe initiatives which are there, but we have seen that it has not reached to a smaller chain, a smaller property. It is still more of a CSR obligation that they see it as, right? Rather than really focusing it on as a business practice. How do you see that this is moving towards having met people across the globe that you have come across and started that you work with? Where do you see the trend going? And what is it that we can do as suppliers to say small, medium, hotel chains to maybe upskill them or enable them to get onto this method quickly and effectively?
Yeah, it's a valid point you raised, Gambhir. It's Karan sir. See, what happens is the main thing is to educate the small and micro enterprises, because typically it's always run, run, run with the business. There's no time to take a pause, or everyone's focused on a single bottom line, which is the monetary bottom line. As I'm moving forward from this crisis, I think something like the triple bottom line, when you take into account not just the economic sustainability, but also the environmental and the social sustainability, all these will become important. And unless regulatory authorities mandate, on a balance sheet, not just to show your profit and loss, but your triple bottom line impact, it's going to be difficult, because the big chains, this is where they have to really take the lead by showing by example. As you mentioned, currently it's just ticking the box CSR initiative. That's it, right? It's not really with the concern, right? There have been initiatives like the UN came up with the carbon trading agreements. Again, they were a time split. They worked to some extent, but again at the very large corporate or governmental levels. So how do you take this to the grassroots? The same problem, sharing my experience on the digital side when I work with startups. So what we realize, what I tell my mentees, so my mentor is, listen, what you need to do is, instead of trying to give them the benefits, you have to first educate them about the how this is going to have a long-term impact, and without much of disruption to your existing ways of doing things. This is important, because the first question is, oh, okay, do I have to make big changes? I don't want to bother, because I'm too busy serving my guests. I don't want to kind of rock the boat. That's the mindset, right? So this particular crisis, I mean, look at the silver lining as would be a good opportunity to reach out to small and micro enterprises, medium enterprises, to let them know about the benefits, how, as a contributor to sustainability initiatives, they will be perceived by their guests, because at the end of the day, that is what is also important, right? Not many people are aware of Green Globe, and again, unfortunately, it's become very corporatized. So this has got to be something where there are guidelines and benchmarks. Like a bit what like OYO did, standardized yeah. So something along those lines. It is like it comes from within the industry. It doesn't have to be a accreditation or a certification that people have to pay for. Yeah. as long as there is an audit, self audit, which can be verified externally through peer auditing processes. Someone like your company can take that kind of an initiative to form that kind of a network to help hotels in kind of peer auditing. This is something you may want to look at moving forward.
In the same thing, we've actually created an NGO called Roots NGO, and we've already implemented all these things with certain hotels. Darren, I would love to get in touch with you and take this forward to the forum also.
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is something you really need to do, because if you have something on a pilot scale, you really need to scale it up, and this is the opportunity you have. And I'm sure networks like HNC will help spread the word, so to speak.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
I would request Ms. Taran if we can also welcome Mr. Dipankar, our another guest speaker. He has recently joined us.
Welcome, Mr. Dipankar Das. Sir, can you hear me?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello.
I can hear you.
Great, sir. Great. So I would just like to introduce Mr. Das. He's the head of procurement for Taj Stats. Sir, would you like to just say a few words about yourself to the entire group?
Yes, I am Dipankar Das. I look after the corporate procurement of our SaaS air catering across the country, and I have been in this industry for last almost you can say 33 plus years. And I have worked with hotels, I have worked with QSRs, I have opened higher restaurants, I have worked with light caterings. I mean, I think I have covered a full circle in this entire industry. So that's about it. My background is basically cost control and materials management. So that's in a nutshell about myself.
Thanks, sir. Right, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, as you know, the objective of starting hospitality, Happy Hotelier Club, Slowdown, episode 1. The objective was primarily, to share your idea and your thoughts on how do you see, the hotel and the complete industry, at the moment what we're going through the crisis, how do you see it sailing through this crisis? If you can share your thoughts on that.
Yes, actually, I have been going through Mr. Nadkarni's talks, and I was listening. It was very interesting, and yes, he was sharing his views and all, which are by and large whatever he told us that it's yeah. I think he is quite correct in one sense that yes, it is a positive side right now that this slowdown has happened, and it has given us an opportunity to sit back and ponder upon whatever we have done so far, because we were just rushing through, running through on our daily chores of life, and we were just we were just responsible for our deliverance, and we were just meeting up our demands, our targets, and all, and we were really not thinking actually what exactly should be the development side of this industry. Although it's an hospitality industry right now is an ever evolving industry, but that sit back and relax and think. This thing has so far not happened, and currently, yes, this particular window, or whatever you say, this slowdown window, or this particular, corona slowdown due to corona, the window which we have got, yes, it is a positive side. We can now think of a lot of development activities which can be implemented when we bounce back to this industry. So, so that is our positive side. But yes, I must also share here, there are a lot of learned friends here who are working in this industry. There are a lot of insecurity which is floating around amongst people that how we will, when we bounce back, whether we are going to bounce back in that way what we were earlier, or when we bounce back, what is that time period when actually we are going to bounce back. Okay, to my opinion, yes, we have to bounce back. We will definitely bounce back. Sure, this will take, to my opinion, some time, because since I am
let me tell you something about this airline industry right now. Since I'm directly right now associated with this airline industry and airline catering, the airlines what they are thinking that yes, the international travel will much become slow right now after this. The travelers from other countries will not be traveling to that extent what they were doing earlier because there would be a lot of restrictions. Even if they start traveling, there will be government restrictions which could restrict people from XYZ country coming to our country. So due to that, the entire tourism industry will get a bit affected. But to my opinion, this will be a temporary phase. Although this temporary phase will last for, to my opinion, till the time the vaccine of this virus comes to the market. Because people are thinking that if we are not vaccinated, then it would be a safe way for people to travel to other countries. Who knows? There are not many, infected people. So I might get infected if I have so far not been infected by God's grace. I might get infected. Yeah. So this will take some time. So these are the positives and the negatives which are floating around right now. But being a hotelier for such a long time, I am going by the positive side of it. Yes, we have to sit. This was required to sit back and think and ponder about the future development process. Yeah.
Very rightly said, sir. And the beautiful thought which we were sharing with Mr. Sanjay Natkani was also the same. That deep thinking has been totally lacking in the hotels because of the hustle bustle. We've been always busy and sometimes busy being busy, honestly. But this is a time to be in our own spaces, of course, in our own houses. I think the comfort levels are different because it's more calm because we are not around the operations. So this is a time to create. This is a time to think, rather deep think. This is a time to do more work. This is a time to re-strategize and still get your teams on Zoom and do the meetings and be ready on the shop floor level once you get back to work. Of course, as you well said, that this will take time. The reason being the scare is still there. We are afraid of intermingling, at least for some time. Till, of course, the vaccine comes up, which we don't know by when. But this is a slowdown period for at least, I would say, 8 to 1 year. You will not see the same bustle and the business pouring into various industries. So things are slow, but then I think this is the time to do more work for the next 2 years, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Shweta, you can take your questions. Ms. Shweta?
Hi, my question would be to Mr. Sanjay.
You are not audible. You are not
The
audible.
You are not audible actually.
grateful for giving this what was that will be moments.
Hello.
I think she is not audible to us. We'll take her again. Yes, Mr. Ashish, you can ask your question. You can unmute
My
yourself.
questions, Mr. Sanjay.
Ms. Shweta, you are not audible to us.
Mr. Dipankar, am I audible now?
Yeah, you are audible now. Please ask question.
Hello.
Hello. We have a bad connection. Can we get back to you again? Can you try reconnecting?
Or you can write the question and we will take up your question and we hear the answer.
Or you can put it in chat. Meanwhile, Mr. Ashish, you can take your question. Please unmute and take your question.
You can unmute Ashish.
Ashish, please speak.
Yeah, thank you. So my question is, so technology plays always a bigger part And however big technology may go, hospitality still remains a people-to-people industry, right? So we talk of people in two parameters: our customers and our people who make the hospitality reach our customers. So as we have been talking about restructuring ourselves and cost reduction and workforce reduction. So what do you see the future of workforce as in the industry? Uh, so as we can already see, a lot of people have been either laid off or sent to the post vacation without pay. So how do you foresee this situation in the longer run?
Uh, yes, that is a very pertinent question you just put forward. But see, currently, yes, the situation is grim, so to say. A lot of hotels have closed down. Our airline industry or ancillary industries has totally shut down currently. And yes, people have been laid off. People have been asked to sit at home and work from home. People have been asked to sit at home and their leaves are being deducted. And after the leaves are gone, then there would be probably it would be a without pay. Yes, the situation is not a very happy situation right now. But I should say in the situation that in future, the see, it is an absolutely people-oriented industry. So this industry can never run without people because this is a hospitality industry, and the main mantra of the hospitality industry is just personalized serving and personalized. Hello,
Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah, yeah, you are
it's a,
audible.
it's a yeah,
So
it's a personalized touch, and yes, that's why the personnel would be definitely required. And when we bounce back, when this industry comes back, definitely people will be required to run this industry. But however, we have to think certain things at this moment. Will the industry remain the same as it was so far after this bouncing back or after this reload? It might not remain the same. We might by that time would be entering into a new phase of high technology personalized service. Okay, so the manpower which would be required at that time should be absolutely tech savvy. The, the young generation definitely are absolutely tech savvy. But at that time, as Mr. Nadkarni was saying, that a lot of virtual reality matters will come in. Probably. There's a probability for that. But that is the future. So whatever skilled people or even basically semi-skilled people would be required, they would be required on a level of X level of technology knowledge. That is to my opinion. Yes, people will be required, but people will be required who would be tech savvy. So that is my opinion.
Thank you.
Okay, you can try one more time taking your question.
my question would be: am I audible now?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay.
My video, I am not, I think, visible to anyone, but nevertheless, I can continue.
Okay. So my question is to Mr. Sanjay. Thank you for a nice insight. But we know that hotels are like white elephant to us. But then my concern is being the training placement coordinator in IHM Faridabad is that we have a lot many students who are placed in the industry right now. And so, as you mentioned, then manpower will be a challenge for the hotels to keep now. So, how are we looking at their delay of joining, and are we thinking something about that part also? Because we know that these are future hoteliers and many of them have
I think your audio is not properly, flowing out. Hello.
We get the gist of the question.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
So if I understand correctly, your question is, uh,
how do we address the challenge of preparing the next crop of careers that now we are training through our education institutions under the current environment? Is that correct? More or less?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, again, this brings us to our earlier discussion and what Mr. Pasich pointed out about upskilling people, because you see, what do we deliver as course content? I'm an educator myself, I'm also a professor apart from my own research. And typically, this is the debate I have with my fellow academic faculty is that what we are imparting as skills to our students in the name of hospitality management or tourism management, these are all outdated. We are following curricula that were created for the last century. So we have to switch gears. At the end of the day, for the millennials, they're not going to work up their way through the system, from junior positions up to general manager positions taking over about 20, 30 years. They want big results. That's the nature of this generation. And what we see as a result is a lot of students, a lot of our graduates don't want to work in operations in the industry. They join consulting companies, they join banks, and the banks because at the end of the day they have the soft skills, right? So if the bank is to hire a high-end MBA with some great financial reserve with some of the soft skills, yeah, they have that balance to keep because in customer relations, the soft skills matter more than number crunching capabilities. And again, which brings me to the other point which Mr. Das raised. At the end of the day, we are not far away. In fact, it's already happening. We have algorithms as colleagues, robots as colleagues. It's already happening, right? So why bother about teaching them accounting and all this stuff? Yeah, basics, yes. But they're not going to be sitting there doing these stuff manually. It's all automated. How are hotel prices decided? We still have our executive ExCom meetings to decide pricing, and that's why online travel agencies have taken over the market through dynamic pricing algorithms because it's all data driven. Yeah. So again, coming back to your question, I think this is also a great time for educators to rehash the curriculum to make it more relevant not only to the present generation but to the needs of the industry. Correct.
I think this we come to the end of episode number one. We look forward to episode number two on April 1st. We will share the agenda with you all. We are very sorry that we exceeded about 9 minutes, and the insights given by Mr. Sanjay Nadkani and Mr. Dipankar Das were really, really powerful. And I think everybody who is a participant for today's episode number one has benefited out of it. We would request feedback from all of you and share your views and comments so that we can strengthen this